Welcome to Game Savers Podcast, everybody, your next-gen gaming podcast for news, reviews, previews, impressions, analyses, and roundtable discussions involving past, present, and future games. My name is Tony Morris, and today I'm joined by my co-host.
I'm Wayne, and I love video games.
And we are also joined by newest member of the Game Savers family, Ken.
Hey.
And can't forget Trey Dog, he's back.
Trey Dog in the house. What's up, everybody?
Hey. All right, perfect. So we're all back here. If you remember us from last week, this is the same group that brought you the Next Gen preview episode. We've been talking about this for months, probably 8 years at this point, it feels like. But again, finally, the new consoles are actually here. We could stop talking about it because we finally have them, right? We don't have to preview them or guess what it is or read news articles because we actually have them in hand, finally. And we've had them in hand now for a few days and can actually come up with some real impressions and some good feedback on all these, whether it's in regards to the console design, the controllers, the interfaces, the networks, the games, and all that stuff we love about these consoles. So before we dive right into this, just to give a quick recap, who has what here? I'll say I have both the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 in hand. Wayne, what do you have?
I got the PlayStation. No, it didn't. Flip me. I got the X.
Oh my gosh!
I got the Xbox Series X.
Okay. Ken, what did you get?
I got the Xbox Series S.
Perfect. All right. And Trey?
I have the PlayStation 5.
All right. So we've got every single console covered in this room. The console wars have officially ended. We've all come together for this podcast to make peace. So without further ado, let's just dive right into this. So obviously, the first thing you've got to do is get rid of your old consoles, right? Or maybe you're keeping them, but that's typically the first step in doing anything with these new consoles, right? Because let's be honest, these are huge and we don't have a lot of space on our entertainment centers or TV stands. So what was that process like for you guys?
I actually moved mine into the spare room about a week before the X came out. Just that anticipation of a new console's coming. So I wanted that little area nice and clear, then empty space, everything just sitting ready to go. I've got a 4K monitor in the study, so the old 1X went under there. And it is just handy having somewhere else where you can game and kind of chill out. It's good for... my living room isn't great in terms of light. It's very, very bright. So playing horror games in there isn't great. It's nice having the console in another room where I can go and play horror games in the dark on my own, that sort of thing. So I love having that second space for a console. I would never get rid of my old console because you don't know what's going to happen with the new ones. Is it going to be teething issues? Is it going to brick 2 days afterwards and then you're left with no console? And I think that all the money that you get whenever you trade them in these days, it's, if you take it to the likes of, I think you guys have GameStop and stuff for trading in. We use, I guess the big one at the minute is probably CEX. I think what they give you is a pittance. I'd rather just hold on to it.
Here's $15 for this thing we sold you 8 years ago for $400.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. I like holding on to my old consoles. I have to admit, there's a wee bit of an emotional attachment to them as well. I'd feel sad if I got rid of my old 360. So I just like having those there. Maybe one day when I get a nicer house, I'll make a sort of a display on the wall with all my Xbox consoles and the controllers and stuff.
A beautiful thing. What about the rest of you?
Ken, you want to go ahead or?
Yeah. So for me, I'm kind of like Wade. I'm a bit of a hoarder when it comes to consoles. So, but I kind of have like a console near enough in every room. So at the moment in my main living room, I have my Series S with my 1S sitting beside each other. And then I have a Wii U up in the spare room. I have a 360 in the bedroom, and I have a PS4 in my office.
My gosh!
And then up in storage, I've got numerous other old consoles that I tend to get out every now and again. But I'm sort of on the same with Wayne. Like there is that emotional attachment to it, and the fact is, unless you sell it privately, you don't get a lot. Because the problem is as well, like everyone else is on the same boat. Get a brand new console. I want to get rid of my old console. So the market just gets flooded. My Facebook timeline recently has all been like old Xboxes, old PS4s, just looking whatever they can get.
And
But-
rest in peace to anybody out there, by the way, that gets confused. Like, there's going to be somebody out there guaranteed right now on the Facebook shop or eBay or something that's just not as up to date on like the Xbox One X, the Xbox Series X, and goes to buy it for their kid and is like, whoa, what is this? we already
the
have
naming,
this.
It's so confusing with the names. Somebody's grandmother is going to get confused on Christmas and buy them the wrong console. Yeah.
Was there not with the pre-orders? There was a massive
Already
increase.
happened, yeah.
Yeah, there was an increase in sales on the One X.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Rest in peace to those people. What about you, Trey?
Well, I'm not like you guys. You guys have multiple rooms with multiple consoles. I have one nice giant room, and I have I have my PlayStation 2, 4. Well, I skipped 3. I have 3 and 4, and I have all of those. I don't get rid of them. I like to hold on to my old consoles, and my PS4. This is a PS4 Pro. It's the limited edition one. I don't know if you've seen that one. It's the blue one.
Yeah.
That goes back in the box just because I want to keep it in mid condition as I can. So, I probably will come back and play it from time to time, but I think I'll be putting PS4 games on the PS5 when I feel the need to go back and do that. But my setup was pretty easy with the PS5. I just had to unplug a few wires and boom, everything was working on day one. So
Beautiful. I'll say I've been just been holding on to them for a minute. They're in storage. I'd like to find a way to get those to like a children's center or a children's hospital, something like that. I know that's something we'd kind of talked about back in episode 1 was finding a way to give back through video games. And we're still looking at those avenues and distribution channels and suppliers, things like that. But still holding on to those for, that cause when it rolls around. But they're already factory wiped, both of mine. I've already taken both accounts off of there. So I really hope nothing goes awry with the new ones because I have no plan B. I've got the Switch, but that's it. So, and the PC, I guess. But so we've got them now. It's for me, like saying goodbye to these things anyway. I mean, it was like kind of Toy Story-ish, when Andy gets done playing with his old toys and he's like, so long, old friend, or something like that.
Yeah,
it just drops Woody or Buzz Lightyear to the ground and, never gets seen again. But that's what that was like. But
yes.
So we've got the consoles here, and obviously we've all unboxed them at this point. We've all set them up. They're already fired up, and we probably have just an absolutely shameful amount of playtime on them at this point, only a few days in, which for me is true. I'd say if there's been like 72 hours, I've probably played 50 of them on the new consoles, which is just an absolute shame. But again, so we've got these in hand now. Thoughts real quick. We'll just go around the room on, I guess, maybe the unboxing and console design before we dive into controllers, games, and all that fun stuff.
Unboxing to me was an absolute pleasure. I know it doesn't matter. It's literally 10 minutes of setup before you plug this thing in.
And you got the Xbox Series X, right?
Series X, yeah. There's just something. That should be an enjoyable process. I think one of the worst designs is Nintendo, the way they package their consoles. There's just so much plain brown cardboard and everything's overpacked.
It's like breaking into Fort Knox.
It's a nightmare. The Super Nintendo Classic that they put out was one of the worst packaged things I've ever bought in my life. The Xbox, the Series X, you snip a few bits of sellotape, you open the lid, and it's there in lovely black, like a sort of a cellophane plasticky type covering, but it's colored matching. Everything's designed well. It's all imprinted on the inside of the box. It's not just bland brown cardboard. And it lifts out so nicely. And then there's a little compartment at the back with all your cables and controller and stuff. Just lovely the way it's packed. Really, really nice. A joy to unbox and take out. I will say, we have 2 Series X in the house. I bought one and my girlfriend bought one because we do a lot of co-op gaming. Mine is sitting sideways and slotted in to the TV stand.
Okay.
And I think it looks kind of not nice.
Does it fill up that entire compartment, or does it actually fit?
There's room either side where the vents are, but there's nothing above. And the little Xbox logo, I don't know if you remember this, but see on the PS2, on the PS3, those consoles were designed to go flat or stand up.
Yep.
And the little logo could be turned.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you turned it down, you could turn the logo and it looked like it was designed to stand either way. When the
Yep.
Xbox is on its side, you've got a sideways Xbox logo. And it just, I know it's only a tiny thing, but it's a real bugbear for me. Uh,
Oh,
and my girlfriend, she's just got her sitting in the corner of the room upright. And you see that, the airflow with the little indent and the green
Yeah.
colors. So you've got the green and the black, which is the iconic Xbox colors. Sitting upright, it looks gorgeous.
Hmm.
On its side, it looks like a shoebox. And I think that's a real shame. Well, hopefully at some stage I'll get we're hoping to move house at some stage next year, and hopefully I'll be able to redesign and set things up better and it'll look nicer. But yeah, as I say, if you've got it upright, I think it looks lovely. On its side, no.
we'll skip around a little bit here. We'll go over to Trey with the PS5.
So actually, I did a unboxing stream on my channel, and I had a lot of people join me. Yeah,
Where is
sorry,
that? Where is that channel, by the way, Trey?
Oh, you can find me on YouTube and Twitch, TreDog14TK, TREDOGG14TK. That's on YouTube and Twitch. I stream, every now and then. It's not too often now, but try to do it like twice a week.
I gotta say, I've seen a couple of your unboxings, and they are just so crisp and clean. And you treat these things with such a level of respect. It's a beautiful thing. Like,
Yeah,
props.
yes, thank you. I did.
Because mine is like on my kitchen table, and it's just an absolute disaster of whatever's going on in there. But yours looks like it's in like a high tech laboratory or something.
Oh my
and it's
God.
just
Yeah,
beautiful.
I had an all white background for the PS4 Pro unboxing. I had my latex gloves on and everything, and yeah, it because with that kind of plastic for that console, it just absorbs fingerprints. So I didn't want to smudge it while I'm unboxing it for this nice video. So yeah, but I didn't do that for this one. So
Nice.
because with the plastic on the PS5, it's kind of like a matte kind of plastic, so it doesn't really have that kind of texture where it absorbs or shows fingerprints. The black part does a little bit, but you don't really need to touch that part. So but yeah, unboxing the PS5 is actually kind of difficult. The inner box was stuck. Like I had a hard time pulling it out of the outer box that it was kind of in. So I'm sitting there shaking it, trying to just gently lift it out, and it would just did not come out.
Like you need somebody else to like get on the other side and hold the bottom and pull down while you pull up.
yes, because it is kind of heavy. I think it's probably 17 pounds, so it was kind of heavy. And yeah, I mean, it took me at least 5 minutes to get that box out. And but once everything was out, it was nice and neat on the inside. All the cables were neatly wrapped, and nothing was out of place. But yeah, I have it standing up. It's behind my desk here, and yeah, putting the stand on was pretty tough as well. I didn't know that the stand rotated to get the screw out. I'm looking for the screw to try to attach the console to the base, and I couldn't find it, so you had to rotate it. So it took me a minute to get the PS5 set up, but once it's up and standing, it's gorgeous. So
That's a beautiful thing. What about you, Ken? You were opening the Xbox Series S.
Yeah, so my experience was somewhat similar to the Wayne, and I think that's kind of nice on Microsoft's behalf. Like, they sort of have almost the same experience with opening the S or the X. It was you cut the little bits of sellotape, you sort of lift it up almost, and it's just like a presentation box. My first impression was the second I opened that box, I literally turned around to my wife and went, "That is bloody tiny." Like, I know that's like being like a massive topic of discussion with the Series S of how small it actually is, and
yeah,
you see all the videos of like comparing them to different consoles, but until you actually have it in your hand, you don't realize how small it actually is. Like I was lifting it with one hand, putting it up against my head, and it's like that's how big it is. But yeah, it was the same. You had the nice white plastic, the sort of color coded all. You had your wee compartments at the back for the controller and for the cables, and it was just wonderful. It was that excitement. It's like Christmas Day opening up.
Yeah,
That's a beautiful thing. I'll say I opened both, and yeah, I mean, out of the two, I would say by far the Xbox packaging was the best. I really liked Sony. There was nothing bad about it. It's just I thought the way they presented it, same as you, Trey. I thought it was just hard to open and like get into. Like, I didn't know which way to open it. Should I open this from the side, from the top? And it seems like no matter what I did, I just could not break into this box for some reason. Like, I'm an idiot. But it's like when you get batteries, or something like that, or a new controller, and it comes in those like super hard shell plastic cases.
God. Yeah.
And you're just like, God, what do I need to do to get into this thing?
Yeah,
and,
I've had scissors and blow torches and
right. I need a SWAT team to break into this thing.
trimmers. Yeah, man.
And I finally got that one open, and everything was good. It's not like I opened any of the boxes and something fell out, but I did like the Xbox, how I could just like lay it down, cut off that tape on the sides of it, and then just lift it, and voila, there it was. And this nice, I don't even know how to describe the shape of it. Probably a rhombus. I don't know. I didn't do any good in geometry. I have no idea, but yeah,
Right.
really good padding in there for the Xbox Series X. I loved just how tight it was. Felt like it wasn't going to shuffle or anything like that. Like you said, the compartments at the back, it was just super well organized. And then over on the PlayStation side, I was kind of like struggling to figure out what was where. Again, it wasn't that big of a difference, but that's probably where this conversation takes a turn, at least for me, regarding which one had the better of whatever it may be. So
Presentation.
yeah.
Well, I did want to add that when I had my hands on the PS5, I honestly don't think it was as big as people made it out to be. Like it is pretty big, but it's not like massive, because I have a full size PC tower, and that thing is like a microwave. It's just so huge. But the
Right.
PS5 it's not as big as people made it out to be, in my opinion. So
I'd have to agree, because that's what I thought of. That was the first thing that came to my mind when people started calling it absolutely huge. And I was looking at unboxing videos and things like that. Is like, wow, that's a small desktop PC, right? Or a mid tower, something like that. And no, not at all. Like not even remotely close. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's definitely a lot bigger than the PS4.
Yeah.
Or even the Xbox for that matter, the OG Xbox.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, think back to now towards the end of this current generation, I guess, which is now the last generation. When these things first came out, they were huge, right? And then as time goes on, you get like the newer editions, and they get smaller and smaller.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, comparable to like the first gen PS3 or PS4. Still, that PS5 is huge. Like not comparable to a PC though, for sure.
Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to get across. So,
so we could talk a little bit about the controllers here, and then maybe interfaces, games, and fun stuff. But I gotta say, I have been a PC player my whole life. I've normally on the consoles been more of an Xbox guy than anything. And Sony's kind of just been my like, hey, I'll go play you when there's exclusives. But anything else, I'm more comfortable playing the Xbox, just because of the controller setup. It's more fit for bigger hands, things like that. And this is probably honestly the first time in my life after owning all these consoles where I'm going to jump ship 100% based on a controller. And that's the PlayStation controller. It is that good. I've touched both of them now, and I'm not going to lie, I was a little disappointed with the Xbox controller. Just because, again, it's more of the same. There's nothing really mind-blowing about it. Don't get me wrong, it's nice. It's got a new D-pad and a couple other features. The grips are a lot nicer. I like the trigger feedback and things like that. But this PlayStation controller is just an abs. I've got it right here in front of me, because before this podcast, I wanted to just like get another good feel on these. But just the feel of this thing is incredible. It's bigger. Yeah, they're heavier. The haptic feedback, the DualSense. It's got a built-in microphone on this thing, which is just such a leap forward. Even the buttons and the D-pads here and things like that. I mean, they've got this weird coating on them where they're just silent. I can't even hear me hit it. Whereas I'm mashing this now, and if I mash the Xbox controller here, I don't even know if that feedback is coming through on the microphone or not, but it is loud. It is so distracting, and I cannot get over it. I thought it was a defect until I got online and saw, oh, everyone else is having this problem. Great. Thanks, Microsoft, for making this super loud, annoying D-pad that wasn't a problem last generation. But that's my tangent, I guess, on controllers. So I'll yield the court to someone that would like to say something positive about the Xbox controller or something else.
I mean, positive wise, I love the color of it. When I set it down beside my One S controller, like the almost fully white design, I think just looks so sleek. I definitely agree. The D-pad is a massive annoyance. I was sitting there with both controllers hitting the D-pad, and you could hear it. It's not even that it's louder. It's a certain tone of click that just makes
clicky.
it sound, yeah. To me, it almost felt cheap. like the D-pad, like it literally feels like the cheapest bit of plastic that you could put on it. But like I said it on last week's podcast, where I think Microsoft has hit a point where with controller design, I think they've reached their peak, and if it's not broke, don't fix it. I love the feel of it in comparison to even like the go back to the PS4. I've always had a problem with Sony's controllers. I have big hands that don't fit well in my hands, so
Same boat.
I've always went for third party controllers with any PlayStation. But with the Xbox, like I do love the feel of it. There's not much difference in the weight, which I kind of like. But even with the triggers and stuff, it still feels so smooth and so solid.
Yeah, with the Xbox controller, for me, it was almost a non-event. It was so similar to the previous one I have. I did compare it to my girlfriend still uses the controller that came with her Xbox One. So that was the original design. The designs did change.
The OG one?
No, the first Xbox One that came out. They have actually changed. They've made minor changes to the controller. I've got, for example, the Gears 5 limited edition controller, and it's got that texture and that grippy feel. It's already got that. So whenever I went to the Series X controller, it was just like this is exactly the same. It's identical. So it was a non-event. I guess there's a positive in familiarity and not having to get used to something new, but then there's a disappointment that it's just the same thing. So it all kind of balanced out to become a non-event. One thing that did really, really bug me, I got the Play and Charge kit. We talked last time about using AA batteries and all that. It came with 2 batteries. I thought I'll use them. They lasted 3 days or something.
Do you even give a shit about the environment, Wayne?
Of course I do. Of course I do. Yeah. I mean, well, let's not get into that. So they lasted no time. So they were bins. In which time the Play and Charge kit came. On the old Play and Charge kit for the Xbox One, the cable that it came with, even if you get third-party cables that are for the Play and Charge, it's got a little light on it, and you plug it in, and if it's charging, it goes red, and when it's full, it goes green. They've removed that. That's not there anymore, and it's just another.
Oh, that's weird.
It's another one of those small features that was useful that they've just decided, let's not bother with that anymore. And it bugs me. So I don't know.
Stunning.
If I plug my controller in, I don't know if it's still charging or if it's fully charged or not until I turn the Xbox on. And again, it's not going to decrease your enjoyment of the latest game, but it's just one of those wee things. It was a nice to have.
So if you're out there listening to this podcast and are using this episode as maybe a buyer's guide or something like that, just to note, it sounds like the Xbox controller. If you've played the Xbox One X, then that's the same thing.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I mean, if you've had it, then you've got it now. Same controller, not a lot of difference. Actually, I would go a little bit further and say it's a bit of a downgrade, if nothing else. Like the grips are better, don't get me wrong, but I just cannot get over those small annoyances, like you were saying, Ken, with like the clicking. Things like that, especially when I'm in like a hardcore immersive game, and then I can hear that in the background. Like, what is that? Oh,
I think those clicky D-pads are specifically for the likes of fighting games, the sort of games that really need that tactile, punchy hit, so you know exactly when you're hitting left, you know exactly when you're hitting right. I think they're designed for that sort of thing. But even though if they're designed specifically for that, I'm using the D-pad. And when I'm playing Assassin's Creed, I'm using the D-pad whenever I'm playing Gears 5. So if they've designed it for one thing, it might be detrimental on another.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. I've these headphones on, and I can't hear anything outside these headphones when I'm gaming. So I don't notice.
Trey,
I was going
ahead.
to say, I will jump back quickly to that Play and Charge, and it's something that slightly annoyed me. There's no white. I've only found black. And which for the Series X is fine. It fits nicely with the controller, the full color scheme. But for someone who has the Series S, there isn't a white version, so you're
stuck with this like awkward off-colored.
Yeah.
What?
the one that I bought, it's literally just a battery and a cable. So you pull on your case, you'll pull the white clip out, put a battery inside, and put your white clip back on.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
No, there you go.
Shouldn't be a problem. Should suit for both.
Does the Xbox One controller, does that work on the Series X?
It does. And
Okay,
all you lose is the share button. So again,
Okay.
if you're really upset about the clicky D-pad, just buy an Xbox One controller.
Okay.
Use that.
Yeah, I might even just use mine.
The
yeah.
option's always there. I've lost count. I found, like, see, 360 pads. I know we're going off on tangent here. 360 pads to me were so durable. Like, I think I had two during the space of, like, owning a 360.
Wow.
I must have went through 4 or 5 pads on the Xbox One.
Was that just from thrum wear or bouncing off the walls, or
just becoming the thumbs? I don't lose my head with games, because if a game starts to annoy me, I just set the control pad and walk away.
What a graceful human being you are, Wayne, because I cannot say the same thing.
Yeah, but just wear and tear, and eventually them kind of, whether it be stick drift or whether it be the batteries inside them and they're not holding charge, or just problem after problem. I found that the Xbox One controllers just were not nearly as durable as the 360 era.
Yeah.
How about that? Trey, let's chat about the PS5 controller, because I just have nothing but glowing feedback for this thing. And again, this is from somebody that hated the PS3 controller, hated the PS4 controller. It wasn't bad.
Right.
Again, same as Ken was saying, my hands are just too damn big for it.
Okay.
And this time around, I feel like the controller is a little bit bulkier, which is a good thing. Definitely, I feel 100% at home on this controller. It's just absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, the DualSense, oh my God, it's like it is just a massive upgrade from the DualShock 4. Yeah, I see you got it right there. Dude, yeah, it is. Like, I'm holding the DualShock 4 right now, and like it's great, like, it's awesome, but when you hold the DualSense controller, it's just like, oh yeah, like this is where it needs to be. Like, just I just like how, like you say, how massive the controller is compared to the DualShock 4. And the triggers, don't get me started on the triggers, man. I think the triggers are just like a selling point, really. You could, like, you're playing Call of Duty and you got some resistance in the triggers, and it's just like
it's called haptic feedback, right?
Yeah, it's just so immersive, man. Just I don't see how you can go back to any other controller after you use the DualSense. Like, it is probably as good as the controller is going to get for Sony, and they've constantly improved the controller, every generation. But this just feels like, yeah, this is it. Like this is like the end all be all of controllers.
So what you were saying with that haptic feedback, it's basically like pressure resistant triggers. I guess you could sum it up as that. There's a lot more to it, but I, honestly, like, even for the last few months, as I've heard stuff about that, I thought it was a gimmick, and I thought, oh, that's the equivalent of what Nintendo does with motion controls, and like, it's just whatever. It'll be a cool feature, and we'll get over it. But after playing some of the games on there on the PlayStation, I'm absolutely blown away from what I've seen just so far. And like the first games they've had out, like Astro's Playroom and things like that.
Yeah.
Like the way they utilize the DualSense with, there's different portions of it where you're basically a little robot walking around on the ground, right? And you can feel your feet clanking on metal, like just tiny little steps. And then when you're gliding on ice, you can feel the difference. Like, it's just a fine line, it feels like. Whereas if something crazy happens, this whole thing is shaking. It's not like a rumble sensation I don't think I've ever felt in a controller, if that makes sense. It's so adaptive and can be used in so many ways already.
I do miss the rumble a little bit, but the haptic feedback is obviously like the next step for Sony to go to. But with Astro's Playroom, it's just like, I have my character walking, and you can just like feel the tiniest little vibration in the controller. It's just so pinpoint accurate, and
that's the word, pinpoint.
I hope the developers going forward take full advantage of everything that this controller has to offer, because it is truly just an incredible piece of technology. So
and I guess we can dive into the games with that too, and let's just start off, because it's a good segue with Astro's Playroom, right? The way this game is basically just a full utilization of the controller. And Wayne, I'm ashamed to say I didn't do any research on this game, because it just didn't appeal to me for whatever reason. In the platformer sector, I thought nothing's going to touch, the Crash Bandicoots and things like that in the world. But you mentioned this a couple of weeks ago, I think, on the pod. And I see, like, Trey, you probably saw this. Like, it automatically downloaded for free game from Sony, right? Which is already a huge plus. And it's not a trash game. Like, this is not what you think of when you think of a free game. Go ahead.
Oh, well, I was going to say, Astro's Playroom is kind of like it's kind of like an homage to PlayStation history. You know, you go around, like, you play this awesome platformer game, but you also get to uncover like little bits of technology that Sony has created over the last 25, 26 years. And yeah, it's like a museum.
Yeah,
So,
it's like there's like 4 or 5 worlds, right? Like
yeah.
to put it in Mario context, and then you finish smaller levels in between, and throughout that you can find what's called artifacts, and each world is dedicated to a console. So the first one I got was the PlayStation 1. And I went into that world in Astro's Playroom, got a couple artifacts, found like the original controllers. And you can zoom in on these things. It's the equivalent to a playroom in, like, I think of Smash Bros. Melee, where you got those little trophies and can collect them in that room. It was that level of detail. You could zoom in on this thing and it looked incredible.
Yes.
And you get to the end of the world and there's that, they hit you with that music and a picture of the console itself, and you're just like, oh my God, it literally felt like going back 20-30 years in time. It was incredible.
It's like, oh, I remember that. Oh, I used to have one of those. And just the nostalgia factor. That's pretty much what that game is. And yeah, man, I was playing it on my nice, huge 4K TV, and it just the colors pop, and everything's bright and sharp, and crisp frame rate, everything just absolutely glorious. So
I hope that's the future of, if nothing else, from consoles. Again, I know Xbox didn't have, anything like this. I don't think any console has really had anything like this, but if Astro's Playroom is the format of console launches in the future, I think that would be a beautiful thing, because after Astro's Playroom, I don't think you can ever go back to just releasing a console with nothing like that, because that was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, 100%.
What other games have you been playing? I know obviously there's a lot out here. I guess we'll just dive right into this, because I know there's quite a few out there between us. Wayne, Ken, what do you got over there on Xbox?
I have put a fair dent into Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Good.
It's I'll talk about whenever I put it up. I talked on the podcast last time about how whenever we get the new Xbox and it's got the new user interface and it's got the same controller, it's not going to feel like a new console. And that's what I said. When I booted up Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and it kicked off in 4K, 60 frames per second, and looked absolutely gorgeous, I was just like, I do have a new console. This is a new console. This is a new experience. And that just lit me up. I was so happy to feel like I was experiencing something that I couldn't previously have experienced on the last console. As for the game itself, I was expecting it to be the next in what I considered the modern Assassin's Creed trilogy, i.e. Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. And I was expecting it to be very, very similar to those last two games. It's not. There's enough of a change. There's enough of a change for it to feel like its own game. There's aspects of it when you go out and you just start adventuring. Within the previous games, this is one of the things that I think kind of sets it apart. Within the previous games, you got a map full of icons, and you look at it and you go, okay, now I've got to do 5 of that activity and 4 of that activity and 7 of that activity.
Right.
And that feeling of repetition can kick in very, very early. Within Valhalla, the icons are just, it's either a blue dot, a white dot, or an orange dot. And the orange dot's treasure, the white can be anything, and the blue tends to be like a mystery. So whenever you're out venturing and you go after one of these icons in the map, you don't really know what it's going to be, and it gives it a much better sense of adventure. And that's what I'm really liking about it. It actually reminds me of, those times in Skyrim where you just kind of dander off and try and find something interesting or something new. That's what it reminds me of. There's a very slight Skyrim vibe to it, and I'm really enjoying that. The combat in it it's very heavily go in and slaughter people. I haven't done a whole lot of stealthiness.
So gone are the days of pure stealth, hiding on rooftops and then swooping down. And
there's some of that. It's optional for the most part. Maybe further along in the game there'll be more of that. There's some references to earlier Assassin's Creed lore. There's 2 specific characters. I won't spoil it, but there's 2 specific characters that just made me feel, oh, this is touching on the lore that I've always enjoyed.
Yeah.
One thing I'm kind of not enjoying about it is it kind of ties into the story and the characters, and I'll try and be as vague as I can so that there's no spoilers. You start off in Norway, and someone within the game makes a certain political decision that your characters aren't happy with. So you bugger off to England to create a new home where you need to get.
Sounds
new
a lot like the
resources.
Vikings TV series.
Yeah, and you are going to go to England, and you're going to set up home there, and no one's going to get in your way. You will slaughter and pillage and murder everyone to do that. In other words, you are not the good guys. And I always like, if you play a video game like, Mass Effect, where you've got your good and your bad choices,
Yeah.
I'm always the good guy. I always want to be the guy that's saving the world, saving the
Yeah.
universe, defeating the baddies, And it's a little bit cliched, but I love that in a video game. And in this one, there's literally points in it where I'm just going, these people didn't do anything. These people do not deserve to have their village slaughtered. And I literally feel like I don't want to do this. I don't want to be this
can't
character
support
within
this.
this game.
You have a conscience.
And I'm pushing on through it. I keep reminding myself it's just a game, it's just a story.
Yeah.
And
That's rough.
at the end of the day, it's reflecting at least one interpretation of history. So just roll with it, just go with it, and try and enjoy the game. But
Question on that, because I'm curious here, because I actually put off playing Valhalla just to make room for other things, so we'd have the sake of talking about it, like on the PS5, and I've got a couple on the Xbox been playing. But how does this character stack up to previous characters in the Assassin's Creed series?
That's a good question. I mean, nowhere near the likes of Ezio. I mean, I think everyone loved Ezio and Altair. I'd be very surprised if we ever get a protagonist of that level again in Assassin's Creed. I liked, I can't remember the name of them, the guy and the girl in Syndicate, the London one.
Oh, yeah.
Evie and can't remember the other one's name. Bayek in Origins, probably a better protagonist. Cassandra in Odyssey, again, a better protagonist. Ivor's not high up there, I have to admit. And it might be because of that, not wanting to play a character that's so, in my eyes anyway, evil and immoral.
There's going to be some psychopath out there playing like, this is the best game ever.
I think a morality system might have helped it, or a sort of if the character in some way was like, I don't want to do this, I'm being forced to do it by my clan. You might have been able to relate to them better, but I can't relate to the characters I'm playing as because they're so vicious and murderous, I guess.
Mm.
And if you've never met Wayne in real life, he's a teddy bear. I'm telling you, we'll not find a gentler soul out there. But how does it take advantage of the Series X? Because I know there's not a lot of flagship titles coming out, and that's probably between that and Cold War, that's probably one of the bigger ones. How does it look out there?
As I say, it looks gorgeous. The draw distances are brilliant. I remember the guy who makes the Zelda games. The name evades me right now. No, can't remember. And he talks about Breath of the Wild. Is it Miyamoto-san? Maybe not.
That sounds right. I couldn't confirm.
Miyamoto, yes.
Miyamoto. Okay.
He talked about Breath of the Wild, where if you can see something, you can go there, and this is exactly the same.
Nice.
There's one part of it I think really benefits from the 4K 60 frames per second. In a lot of the old Assassin's Creed games, you would get these vantage points that you go up to, and then you press Y to synchronize, and the camera zooms away back and does a big spin. And anytime I've seen that in 30 frames per second, I'm always very, very conscious of, this should be a big, gorgeous, beautiful vista, and it's kind of being ruined by this slightly juddery turn.
Yeah.
And the first time I went up to the top of, I think it was a church, and I hit that Y for the synchronize, and you got that big loop in 60 frames per second. It was just, that's gorgeous. That looks so nice. One minor problem is with 4K 60 frames per second, there is a little bit of tearing that is visible now again, mostly within the sort of like rendered cutscenes. I can spot little bits of turn here and there. That isn't an issue if you've got a TV with variable refresh rate. That will lock that all in, and it'll be nice and clean.
There's
But-
a lot of complications out there as far as, TV compatibility, 60 hertz, 120 hertz, 4K, 1080p, 1440p. I mean, it's
HDR.
almost HDR. It's almost impossible
Yeah.
to keep track of what's compatible with what, like, at least right now.
So I
this-
don't know what approach Ubisoft will take to this. I don't know if they'll sort of go, yeah, we will patch this, and we will try and optimize it a bit better to get that cleaner image, or if they'll just sit back and go, well, if you buy a really expensive TV, you won't have that problem. I don't
Sorry,
know how
I'm
they'll
a
go about it.
peasant.
I played the first hour of Gears 5 today, just out of curiosity, because I know it's another 4K 60 frames per second, just to see if there was any tearing in that, because it's visually a similar game, maybe not as big a world, but no tearing in that whatsoever. So I think I do think it's possible to clean that up and for them to optimize the game. I just don't know if they'll bother or not, because, as I say, it's there's a hardware solution for it, and they might just say, it's on you that you don't have the good enough TV for the top of the line graphics.
It'll be interesting to see how they iron out some of these optimizations here in the next few months, if anything. What about you, Trey? We'll hop over to Ken too. I want to see what you've been playing, but over on the PS side of things, what's been going on over there? I know you've been playing Morales.
Oh boy, yeah, I've been playing Spider-Man, Miles Morales. I got Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and I have the remastered Spider-Man as well. I have I'm ashamed to say it, Bug Snacks as well. So
Okay.
But Bug Snacks is dope. But yeah, I've been playing them. I mostly been playing Spider-Man Miles Morales because that is this is like a console seller right here. This game is, it builds on what was already great in the first Spider-Man and just makes it better. I heard some people complain that, it's pretty much a reskin, and that's fair, but the game just looks so gorgeous in 4K 60, man. Like it is something that you just have to see just with your own eyes. Like, don't watch it on the stream or anything. Go to a friend's house and watch or play this game, because it's mind blowing. Just swinging through the city, you got the snow everywhere, and
it really is. And I'll say, as a New Yorker, I mean, this game hits it. It hits it dead on.
Really?
If you're somebody that's not from around New York and you've always kind of wanted to know what it looks like, go play this game.
Really?
It's not a spitting image. There's going to be some details where, if you're familiar with the Manhattan area, you can go to the top of Rockefeller Center in this game and be like, oh, that's what? You're missing the plexiglass on like the 2 or 3 tiers up there, idiots. But I mean, for the most part, I mean, 99% of this game is pretty spot on. I mean, the way they've laid out the streets to, I mean, I'm one of those where, like, if I can see Central Park in the game, I don't have to open the map because I know how to get where I'm going. Like, it's that accurate, which is, I think,
I'm so
incredible.
lost. I'm so lost. I'm like, wait, I was just in Central Park. Now, wait, where am I at? Yeah, it's confusing for me, but like, it's still, it's still incredible. Just going from all the different towns, like each, I guess you call them boroughs or something, or each borough has its own feel and stuff. And are all the names? I don't know if you looked at the names in the games, but are those all accurate? Like, they have something called Hell's Kitchen. Is that actually like a place? And I'm like,
absolutely,
It's so.
Yeah.
I'm not joking. Like, I love New York. I've been a bunch of times, and see, just talking about places like Hell's Kitchen and stuff, I'm getting shivers up my spine right now.
Really? I need to go to New York. Okay.
That's a beautiful thing. But we'll. Go ahead.
It's just a super polished game, and it runs incredibly well on PS5, and they do have a fidelity mode, which kind of has, like, I think it's more ray tracing, and I guess the textures are improved a little bit better, but the textures are already great without it. Me personally, I like playing on 60 frames just because it's super smooth.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, this is a system seller, man.
How does it hit on the culture? Because you talked a little bit about that last week. I mean, did that hit as home for you as you thought it would?
Yeah, it really did. I wish I was part Puerto Rican because I felt right at home, man. I just like seeing the influence that he has with his African American side and his Puerto Rican side. They all kind of blend together just so nicely. And I know that's probably a huge thing in New York, just to kind of blending of cultures. And yeah, they definitely hit the nail on the head. Like, I felt like I was a part of his community, just the way he interacted with the people in his town. It definitely made me feel like a part of that universe.
That's a beautiful thing. It's a glorious game, and I'll chat about it here in a bit. But Ken, what have you been playing over there on Xbox?
So I was not overly fussed with getting games like Call of Duty or Valhalla. I'm pretty much sort of holding out for Resident Evil Village in the new year.
When do we
and,
get that, by the way? Does that have a release date yet?
I don't
I think
believe
2021
so.
for sure. I say
Yeah.
spring or summer 2021.
Dang.
There was more recent gameplay with a Sony advert
Did you see that?
over the past couple of days. So
Yeah,
it looks like it's getting there.
it's
Just
rough.
holding out for we'll hopefully get that demo in the new year, and then hopefully a February release.
Yeah.
But for myself, obviously with Resident Evil, waiting for Resident Evil, I just sort of thought I'd take a wee dip in the Game Pass, because obviously for the Series S, it's pretty much it's a Game Pass machine. That's its main enjoyment.
It's all
So I
digital,
sort of-
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all digital, so no disk drive. Pretty much you're either going to have to go out and buy the games digitally or sign up the Game Pass. And I've had Game Pass Ultimate now pretty much since the infancy of it. And do try to get as much use out of it. And with the Series S, I definitely did. I sort of tried to dip test into a couple of different games. So I took ones that were optimized. I took a couple that weren't, and some older ones. So for the optimize, I went into Forza Horizon 4.
Oh, no way. That's what I've been playing too to test out the Series X. All right.
And honestly, like, I mean, I know we're not getting full 4K with the Series S, but my God, it's just such a difference from the One S. You know, going from that console to this one, you notice the difference straight away. Another one was Dead by Daylight. I'm a big fan of it and been playing it for quite some time. And you notice like the differences in the textures, the smoothness, how fast it loads up, especially Dead by Daylight. It's very known for being very long loading times, but it was a lot quicker. I did also drop into Resident Evil 3, the remake, and
Okay.
now it's not optimized for Series S or X, but there is like. It does seem to be a bit of a difference. I think it does seem to take more advantage of the sort of HDR elements of the console. So it does look a lot cleaner, a lot more crisp, and the gameplay feels a lot smoother. It doesn't feel bad on the One S, but the difference in the Series S, it does feel slightly different. And then the hidden gem of the Series S was Ori and the Will of the Wisp.
Oh my.
I've never played an Ori game before, but I seen that it was optimized for Series S, so I thought I'll go with that. And a little hidden gem about it, it actually runs in 4K for the Series S. It's the only game currently that runs in full 4K at 60 frames a second, which gives hope. Because it shows that the console is capable of outputting at 4K. Obviously, it just doesn't have the architecture like the Series X would, but playing that, oh my word, it just felt amazing.
Wayne finally talked you into it. I know Wayne got me hooked on Ori too, and man, that's just such a beautiful game.
Ori's great, fantastic. The music, the graphics, the art. It's one of those games where when you die, you know it was your fault. You're never blaming the controls. You're never blaming the game. It's tough, but it's fair. And there's a really, really good learning curve or difficulty curve to it. You know, it gets harder as it goes along, but it never jumps and gets just suddenly, hold on, how did that happen? Why did it get so difficult? Yeah. Lovely game. Absolutely love that.
Oh, good.
I was going to say the last game that I sort of got into as well was obviously from another recommendation from Wayne, and it was Tetris Effect. And
yeah, way to go, Wayne. Thanks for getting me hooked on goddamn Tetris of all things. Jesus.
I was sitting playing it last night, and for an hour straight, I was just focusing on TV. I don't even think I blinked once. Like, I was just that zoned into it.
It's mesmerizing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful game, visually.
Tetris.
Like, yeah, I know.
Tetris.
It's a classic. It's a classic for a reason. You know, it stood the test of time. 36-year-old that game is, and it's still as good today as it ever was. You know,
it's that
absolutely
flow
fantastic.
State. Yeah, that game is like it is the poster child for what they call flow state. I think
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
once you get into the rhythm of the game, you're just you don't think about what you're doing, you just do it. So yeah, it's flow. So yeah.
I have to apologize because I'd spoke about Tetris on the lead up to the launch consoles, and I'd said that Tetris Effect Connected was a battle royale game. I was wrong, and I was somewhat disappointed to discover that. It is multiplayer. You can play 3-player co-op, or you can do battles against a friend, or ranked battles against randomers online. It's still brilliant. It's still a really, really good game. I did go back and watch the trailer that led me to believe that this was a sort of a massively multiplayer
Liar.
Tetris experience. And it looks like it. Like you've got dozens and dozens of people on the screen, and there's this song that's become kind of iconic with Tetris now. This "Connected" song by, I think it's Hydraulic. So I was convinced that that's what it was, and it's not. There's other things. The connected element of it is that there's events. So I think this weekend there was a 24-hour event where all the players were trying to come together and get like 500 million points collectively.
Oh, wow.
And if they did, then we all unlocked another avatar, that sort of thing. So there's that sort of community based stuff within the game. But I mean, it's great playing with friends. I sat and played some multiplayer with the girlfriend. Having played this makes me realize that I'm not as good a Tetris player as I thought I was. I was getting absolutely trounced.
There's like simple things where it's like, God, I'm getting like
Yeah.
destroyed here.
but that flow that Trey touched on, that is just the beauty of that game. Like you can just get so locked into it, and
It honestly felt like I was on drugs, like playing it.
Yeah.
Like
It's very zen.
just
yeah.
just that zoned out.
there was a bit. I was editing the previous podcast, and because whenever you're editing video, you can't have music or music from a game or something on. You need to be listening to the podcast that I was editing. So I had it on, and I was just sitting playing, and the level I was on just had stuff constantly coming towards the screen at me. And whenever I stopped and looked away to edit the video, the laptop looked like it was just kind of slowly, weirdly shifting towards me. Like my whole vision was just kind of out of whack.
I'll say over on the PlayStation side, I mean both really. Gosh, I've been trying to split my time equally, having both of these, and I just know at some point like I'm gonna have to divert and just pick a console and stick with it for a minute. But I'll say so far on the PS5. Again, not a Souls guy. I've never played the Sekiro's, a Dark Souls game, because I rage and I know better than to try these. And I jumped into Demon Souls.
Oh boy!
Now, again, if you're listening to this podcast, it's November 15th. This has only been out for a few days. IGN's, the GameSpots of the world, no major publisher has put out a review on Demon Souls yet, and I'm assuming
They're
that's
still on
because
the first level.
exactly. I'm assuming that's because everyone is still trying to play through this damn game, and oh my God, it is so difficult. But I will say the graphics are just, I mean, if you're welcoming in the next gen, this is the game to go look at. Demon Souls, even with Morales, like looks beautiful, but man, Demon Souls, I don't know what the hell these guys were doing, but Blue Point Studios, incredible job. It just looks absolutely mind-blowing. I find myself dying, not even just because of like the difficulty of the combat, but because I'm like standing, I'm like staring at the atmosphere, the lighting, and it just looks so good. And if you're out there looking at Demon Souls for the PlayStation 5, again, it's a 2009 remake. They've stayed true to the formula of all the original stuff and content, the gameplay that was there. They haven't really changed much of that. This is just a graphic skin overhaul, if nothing else, and it is solid. It's incredible. I think it's probably up there with the top 3 best graphics I've ever seen in a video game by far.
That's insane.
It is. And if you watch this game online on YouTube or something like that, do yourself justice. Take a second, go over to that quality button, and then crank it up to 1080p or 4K or something, and just look at the difference, because this game is a stunner. But yeah, Demon Souls so far, only a few hours into it, super difficult. I understand I'm not even 5% of the way into the game with that many hours into it already, but Demon Souls, fantastic. The other one, Spider-Man, playing a ton of it. Morales has been great. Loved the other one. I mean, gosh, they've just done that character so much justice, and the gameplay is great. You would think there's only so many different ways you can swing around New York City with those webs, but there's a million in this game, and the animations are so smooth, the way it flows. The combat even somehow feels better. I don't know how they did that. Maybe that's with the Venom abilities and things like that.
Yeah, I love the Venom punch, man.
Yeah, it took me a while to finally start. Like, I probably played for like 3 hours before I was finally like, oh, I've got this ability I keep forgetting to use, because there's so many moves you could do in Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, I'm a fighting game guy, so it's all pretty much natural to me. So yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
Then there's what else were we playing? Gosh, Black Ops Cold War.
Cold War, yeah.
Yeah, I've been playing some of that, and maybe this is something we do on a podcast episode a few weeks from now on if the jump is worth it or not from Modern Warfare to Cold War.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say so far, not blown away by the campaign, not blown away by the multiplayer either, but still stick. Ooh, okay. But I'll stick probably with Warzone just for a minute longer, and then I really do dig the zombies this time around, though.
Oh, yeah.
I'll say, yeah, props, because they tried to keep it original. I don't like that there's only one goddamn map for zombie.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? Come on.
They'll add more maps over time. This is part of their strategy now, with kind of trickling out content as the year goes on, so you'll get more maps.
Right. Yeah. And I'm always like, I don't know if I'm scared or excited, because I don't know if they're going to make me pay for those maps, or if it's going to be like Modern Warfare where, you kind of got a lot of those for free, right?
I think it'll be free. They want to keep the player base together. They know that the battle pass system works, so they're going to just release free content and they put cosmetics and maps and stuff, for free. So I think that's what they'll be doing. So
yeah. Are you enjoying the multiplayer then, Trey?
The multiplayer, maybe not so much. I
How do you
prefer
really
Modern.
feel? Tell me.
Well, I like Modern Warfare's multiplayer better than Cold War. I know people disagree with that. Like, they like Treyarch games better, but I just feel like Modern Warfare absolutely nailed it last year with how realistic it felt. Those are the kind of games that I go for. I know Call of Duty is kind of like an arcade shooter, and that's kind of what Black Ops Cold War is. But I just feel like it needs some work in the multiplayer segment. Like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, there's something wrong with, like, I don't know, maybe the aim assist, and just, yeah, it plays better than it did on the PS4. I'll give it that. But I feel like there's something wrong with multiplayer, and I just can't put my finger on it. So until then, I'll be playing I'll be playing campaign and zombies until then. But I'll try to jump into multiplayer and give it some more time. But there's just something that's not clicking with me in this multiplayer.
And for some reason, for me, and again, I know COD, it's got the biggest player base out there just by a mile right now. As far as what's delved up right now between Modern Warfare and Cold War. And yeah, same. I mean, it just feels clunky in this new one, even on next gen consoles. I do not know why. I can't shake that feeling. It's got to be something about the game, the engine, the mechanics. It's in the game.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're using a different engine too, so
right.
They're not the latest. I guess it was Infinity Ward's engine or whatever, but yeah, they're using a totally different engine, and I believe it's the same one they use in Black Ops 3. So it's a little bit older, and they're just trying to push it, and I think they're having some issues, making it work. So.
Yeah, be interesting to see how that game develops over the course of a year, because I know Modern Warfare was obviously a hit right out of the gate, but they've done so much even since then to improve that game.
Yeah.
Whether it be via Warzone or multiplayer, I mean, just free stuff. They've done an incredible job with this most recent Modern Warfare, and that's from someone that's really kind of been shitting all over Call of Duty for the last 5 or 6 years. When wall jumping and all that crazy stuff started. So
yeah, I would say give it another shake whenever Warzone comes to Cold War on December 10th. I think give it another shake and see if you like it. So
yeah, be interesting to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Also was playing some of that, like you were saying, Ken, for Forza Horizon 4. Just beautiful. Wow. I mean, that's my go-to, because I wanted to try a racing game, right? Like, you want to see that 60, 120 hertz on a 4K, how that runs, right? And yeah, it lives up to it. It's great. It's almost like so smooth that I can't physically handle it as a racer game, if that makes sense, because I mean, you're just not used to things being that crystal clear in a racing game. Like, you've usually got some blur or something to compensate for that lack of, clarity in 4K, because it just can't handle it, right, for the frames. And geez, this one just knocked it out of the park, man. It's beautiful, 24/7, no stutters. I mean, right down to a T. It's perfect.
I can't wait to get a 120 hertz monitor, because I feel like I'm missing out on a huge chunk of my console because I don't have that ability to see 120 yet. So I'm waiting to jump into that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Anybody else playing any other games out there then? It sounds like we've got most launch titles covered between the four of us, which is good because I was afraid going into this episode, like we'd all be playing the same game and just be like, well, I guess we could all talk about Demon Souls for,
Right.
an
Demon
hour.
Souls
But
podcast.
yeah. But yeah, it sounds like we've got most bases covered. That's great.
Yeah, I guess the only one we didn't play was probably Sackboy on PS5, but
Yeah, same.
I'm pretty sure it's Little Big Planet just on steroids. I'm sure it's great. Yeah.
There was one other game I did play, and I kind of forgot about this. Gears Tactics.
How is that? That's kind of the launcher for Microsoft right now, right?
It is basically XCOM with a Gears of War story and skin.
Okay.
It's not for me. I played about an hour of it and played through the first kind of chunk of the game, and that sort of, I mean, to me, it's almost like a board game where you're moving your pieces about and taking your shots, and that turn-based combat. It's just the pace of it is just not something that I particularly enjoy. I wanted to play it because I'm invested in the Gears of War universe and the lore, and there's new characters in there, and there's new story, but I played an hour of it. I turned it off, and no part of me wants to go back to it. And that's it's not a criticism of the game. If from what I'm hearing, people who are into that kind of game are playing it and saying, "Yeah, it's really, really good," but it's not for me.
I haven't tried it yet, and I haven't been so much a Gears guy recently, but I do love turn-based strategy games, so I'll report back on that one and see what happens.
How much is it, by the way?
It's on Game Pass, so
it's free. Okay, well, at least it didn't cost anything. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
nice.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I confess that I did actually play it on the One X. I didn't play it on the Series X. But I think that sort of isometric type game. And I'm not sure it would. I don't think it would have benefited. I mean, it wouldn't have changed my opinion playing it with a few
probably not
and a better frame rate.
How about the we've talked about it a lot so far, the consoles, designs, the unboxings, some of the games we've been playing, and honestly, forgot almost to mention Godfall. I want to get around to that because there's been some hype around it, but just haven't had time, obviously.
Yeah.
But one thing we haven't mentioned yet is the user interfaces, right? So obviously some sharp contrast there in some aspects. There's way less loading times I've noticed between both consoles, but what do you guys think about that so far?
I'm still getting used to the new interface for the PS5. It's definitely an improvement, but yeah, I do like how they focus on just the games. Like the games have its own tab, and there's only like two tabs. You have games, you have media, so it kind of like simplifies it a little bit. But having to use the PlayStation button to get to like your friends and everything else that you need, it's a little confusing because sometimes you have to hold it or sometimes you have to push it one time. It's going to take some getting used to, but I do like the interface. Like, it's super fast. Games, they boot really fast. I think I booted Spider-Man in maybe like 12 seconds. It didn't even take that long. So super clean interface on the PS5.
I think with the Xbox, obviously there isn't much of a difference. It's kind of going back to what Wayne was saying earlier. It's kind of the same experience, just like an upgrade almost. Like the slight tweaks. But the thing that I find, the two things that I find that I do quite like, that are obviously new additions, is one, the compatibility checker. When you're setting up and you're going into your like HDR settings and stuff, it actually gives you a full entire list of what your TV is capable of doing with the console. So it'll show you, can it do 120 frames? Can it do 4K? And I like that we touch, because you are going to get a lot of people who don't have the top of the range TV that you want to see what they can and can't do. But then the other thing I like is the sort of not really introduction, because it has been around technically for a while, but the use of the mobile app, in the fact of managing your library from your phone, the connectivity between the two. I am enjoying that. The fact that I don't have to go onto my console, if I realize I don't need that game anymore, I'm going to uninstall it because I'm going to get another game. It's great. It's great in that sense. Having all like your achievements and your rewards and stuff all within the Xbox apps, I do quite like. And that's what I was sort of saying last week, in the fact that we were saying Sony seems to be more focused on the gaming aspect of the console. Microsoft definitely do seem to be more, the experience of just an entertainment system. It does seem to go back to what the original Xbox One was meant to be, not just a games console, but a console for everything.
Yeah.
And I think they've hit it well with this generation.
The UI I find just runs so much smoother. Like,
It really does.
I personally don't understand. I mean, the One X, the previous Xbox, it was a beast at the time when it came out, and I never understood, why is this thing struggling to run what is essentially some tiles swiping back and forward and loading. That baffled me. So it's nice to actually have a user interface on Xbox that is clean and smooth and moves and reacts as quickly as you expect it to. That I'm really, really happy with. The quick resume feature, when it works, it's banger. I mean, you can even reboot your console, go into Tetris, and it's there on the menu screen. If it works, it comes up in the corner and says quick resume. And then you can just go, actually, you know what? Actually want to play some Assassin's Creed instead. So you launch Assassin's Creed, it takes 5 or 6 seconds, and you're back right there into your game, even though you haven't launched it since your console's rebooted. But it seems to work 4 out of 5 times. There's times when I've booted up Assassin's Creed and it's just went to the intro screen, and I'm sitting going, what's happened?
Probably they add that there.
What's
probably
that?
Probably they add that there. I never realized that. I know we said about, like, even if you reboot your console, it still works. I've actually discovered it still actually works even if you unplug from the power.
Yeah. What it's essentially doing is taking, because the SSD is so fast, it's taking what's in memory and it's just dumping it onto a file on your SSD. So then when you boot up your console, it will suck that back off the SSD into your memory, and you're back in your game like that. I mean, the SSD speeds are brilliant. I used to fast travel in Assassin's Creed's game, and I don't know about you, but as soon as there's a loading screen, I'm on my phone and I'm sitting. But whenever I'm fast traveling in Assassin's Creed now, I left my phone and then I look up and it's like, oh, I'm there already.
Less time on social media.
Absolutely a plus. This should be out of reach now whenever I'm playing video games.
That's awesome.
So that to me is a fantastic thing. One thing I will say, and I really, really hope that developers get this message. We've got these super, super fast SSDs now, and our games can load like that. Okay, so why do we still have to watch 5 different logos whenever you're booting up a game? You know what I mean? You start Assassin's Creed and it comes up, and the message they've always got: this game was developed by a team from various ethnic backgrounds and stuff like that. And then you've got an Ubisoft logo that goes, and then you've got another logo that comes up for, I don't know what it is, the physics engine or something. And you're sitting there going, this game could have been loaded, but you're insisting that I sit and watch through all these.
Are we rolling through the credits before the game even starts?
You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember you used to go to the cinema and you used to get adverts for anti-piracy?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I'm already here in the cinema. I've paid my money, and you're now telling me not to steal things. You're preaching to the converted.
But what about those people who've snuck in?
Oh, fair enough. I don't know those people. Those
FBI warnings we all ignored on the start of everything.
You must be hanging about with Rabble, Ken.
Always.
The SSDs are absolutely fantastic. I understand the PlayStation 1's even twice as fast as the Xbox One in
PlayStation 1.
PlayStation 1.
Did I say PS1?
Didn't realize it was that fast.
Yeah, I mean, it's
sorry, the PS5
20-year-old hardware. Yeah,
the PS5 one's twice as fast as the Xbox One, and to me, the speeds I'm seeing are blistering. So I can't even begin to imagine what the PS5's like. I think is Ratchet and Clank. It's not out yet.
It's not out
yet. No,
definitely out there.
It's the one where they're saying that the SSD is so fast that there are sequences where you're jumping from world to world to world in the space of like 4 or 5 seconds, and it's
incredible.
loading these different worlds because it can just stream them off that SSD so fast. I
Yeah.
mean,
I can't
if-
wait.
if developers use these technologies that we're now getting hands on with, these super fast SSDs, the DualSense haptic feedback, we're in for some amazing experiences. We really are.
I
you
was
know?
going to say,
I agree.
according to the news, the SSDs are so fast that it breaks The Witcher 3.
Yeah,
What?
it loads too fast.
Yeah, it
What a
literally
weird
blinks.
problem to have.
Like when you
Yeah.
fast travel, it just blinks and you're in a new place.
Yeah.
Well, also, rest in peace, tips and tricks screens.
Oh, yeah.
load, you know?
I actually like
Some
those.
good loading screens. Yep.
Like, oh, I
They're
actually
gone.
didn't know
They're
that. Yeah,
gone.
you have to push square. Okay, good. Yeah. Yeah.
That'll be interesting to see how those loading screens. I mean, what transition happens there? Or those just become a thing of the past? You think of like I don't know, bigger RPGs like Skyrim, where you could stare at like models of in-game characters or something like that for
Yeah.
the 5 minutes it took to load something. But do you think these load times will hold? Right now, because I think of the Series X, and I thought about this as I was playing through this morning. But right now, obviously, some lightning fast load times there. Do you think that's going to hold up 2, 3, 4 years down the road? Because right now it's loading up hardware or software, games and stuff like that, or that are technically last gen, right? When it gets a true next gen game, do you think it's still going to load up like?
I think it'll be faster, and let me explain why. The games that we're currently playing at the minute, they have to be designed to be playable on the previous consoles as well. So for talk's sake, I'm playing Assassin's Creed.
Right.
Whenever it loads that game, it has to load it as if it's loading it off a hard drive, because it also runs on the Xbox One. So it has to load every aspect of the game to a degree, or that local area. I'll try and explain this as best as I can. In future games that are only going to run off SSDs, for example, say you've got a Resident Evil game, and you start off in a shed, the game only needs to load the shed, because by the time you walk from where you started to the door of the shed, in that space of time, it can load the next room and the next area. It can literally stream environments off the disk as fast as you can navigate the world. So it doesn't need to load up. It doesn't need to load as much of the game initially to start with
Right.
as it currently does. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that well
Yeah.
enough?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's only loading parts because it
Yeah.
doesn't need to load everything. Yeah.
So when we get games that are dedicated to these consoles, we're going to get games that they're just going to be like that, because they only need to load that very, very, very start of the game. And they'll probably be loading that during a cutscene or whatever. I honestly think when we get the next Spider-Man or the next Assassin's Creed, like, we're going to get another wave of, holy crap, these things are fast.
Yeah. They've definitely, I think they've definitely kind of future-proof these consoles. Like, these are going to be great for like the next 7 years. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be any issue on that front with the SSDs. As long as like the integrity of the whole system holds up, I think it'll be fine. So,
You know what I think is going to be interesting too, and I apologize to any podcast listeners out there that are huge Nintendo fans, because we are too. But obviously, just this entire month, right? I mean, not a lot going on with Nintendo, and that's just the way it is. But
I have my 3DS, so I'm still
same.
playing it.
Yeah, I'm playing my Switch every other day. But it'll be interesting to see what they do going forward here, right? I mean, every other console now has an SSD, and Nintendo is. Obviously they're not releasing any consoles this year, but it'll be interesting to see if they do a reiteration of the Switch, and if that new version ends up coming up with some more powerful hardware. Obviously, you would expect more powerful hardware, but will it go that far?
4K on
well,
Switch, maybe.
The Switch,
Right.
the Switch, it may not be SSD, but it's Flash.
Yeah.
And Flash is always getting faster and faster and faster.
Truth.
So there's no reason for them to be left behind in that regard. But Nintendo they've never followed trends. They don't care what PlayStation and Xbox are doing, and they don't care about. I don't think they particularly are fussed about being on the cutting edge of technology. They're interested in being on the cutting edge of fun, and bright and colorful and enjoyable. When I still think, even though we have now entered into the era of PS5 and Xbox Series XS, I still don't think I will look upon Mario Kart running in 1080p any less than I ever did, because it's gorgeous. It's a gorgeous game, regardless of the technicality of the graphics, and it's
But the
so
thing
much
is,
fun.
But the thing is with Nintendo, like although you're saying that they're not necessarily following, they're definitely not following the trend, and especially like with the cutting edge technology, I think they are, but they're not doing the same as what Microsoft and Sony are doing. They're doing a different approach in technology.
So,
I remember like the first time that I seen like a Switch out in the wild, like my friend had one, and I looked at it and it's just like, this is amazing. Like nobody to this point has been able to manufacture something that portable with a game quality as good as Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
And you think about like, it's getting a lot of like, ports of like games from like from 2 generations ago. But if you still think about it, like, to use something that essentially, like if you take it like a 360, like how big of a console that was, and now where Nintendo have been able to put it, I think still phenomenal. And it'd be great to see, the future of Nintendo as well. 4K support definitely would be a nice thing to have, but is it essential for Nintendo? No.
Not really.
If Nintendo came out in 2 years' time and said, here's our new console, it's just a big bulky brick that goes under your TV. It does 4K 60 frames per second, and it's got a standard controller. You'd just be like, whoa, wait, what? No, Nintendo. Your next console needs to be something that I can play in the shower, or attaches to my car or something. You know what I mean? They're always doing that wacky sort of off to the left, something completely different. They march to the beat of their own drum, and that's why we love Nintendo. We don't want the 3-man race in these console wars. We want PlayStation and Xbox, although they're diverging a little now, but we want those two going head to head, and we just want Nintendo doing what Nintendo do, because that's what they do best.
That's a beautiful thing. Let's dive into maybe real quick. We could just list off some pros here for our console of choice, I guess, here in the last week with these new consoles that have come out again in the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. Maybe we can just ring off some quick pros and go around the room, then maybe some cons, and then we'll take things home. So anybody want to start us off with what you've just, absolutely loved or that's blown you away, or
I'll be very quick and brief then. For the Xbox, it's having an SSD in your console, and it's just having an absolute powerhouse of a CPU and a GPU. And then I don't want to steal Ken's thunder, but also the ability to still be part of this generation of consoles if you don't have $500 to throw at a console.
I would definitely say like that's 100% my like pro for the Series S. It is a next gen console for pittance. Currently it's less than a Switch, and it's a next gen console. It packs a massive punch for the very low price tag.
Yeah,
it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I mean, on the PS5 front, you do have the 2 separate consoles. You have the digital and you have the disc. So I think there's something for everybody there. It's future proof. Like I said, you have 8K support, you have 4K 120. So you're going to be good for the next 7 years. Lightning fast, loading times. The UI is great. The controller, that is just a selling point right there. Like, this is so many positives about the PlayStation. I can just go on and on. So.
Yeah, I mean, to reiterate what Trey just said about the PlayStation side, I mean, that controller, I've got every version, I think, of the Xbox controllers that have ever come out. I've got the Elite controller as well, the $170 edition, the version 2 of it. And this PS5 controller, the default one that comes with the PlayStation, I think is 10 times better than that controller. And that's a testament to just how powerful that thing is going to be going forward. And I think with games like Astro's Playroom and things like that, we've only seen the beginning of it. And the way this gets utilized going forward is going to be insane.
I agree.
Other things too, PlayStation photo mode. I mean, that's still untouched. I didn't even cross my mind until this morning going through Demon Souls. And I have yet to see a photo mode on the Xbox side where it even comes close to anything a first party Sony title has done with the photo mode. And I hope they get pushed in that direction soon, because that's a great feature.
Is that part of the operating system, or is that within the game?
I believe it's first party. I mean, I'm not sure about the third party titles, but at least the first party Sony titles, I think in any game you can do that.
I know Spider-Man has it. And,
Yeah, Demon Souls. I mean, any game I think PS4 previously had it for like the Uncharted's of the world, God of Wars, things like that too. So
yeah, I have 4K screenshots, man. They're just absolutely stunning, like just so crisp, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, I was never a screenshot person. Even on like PC playing on 4K, like graphics cranked up to ultra, I was never a screenshot hunter. That never appealed to me until PlayStation hooked me. So props, PlayStation.
Yes.
Other things too I like on the PlayStation, the Dolby Vision compatible with my TV at least. I know it's not going to be compatible with everything out there, but man, that makes such a difference because I was flicking that on and off here in the past few days, and just what that does to the TV and the image quality is just wild. It's something else.
Okay.
Xbox side for the pros, I mean, gosh, like you said, lightning fast. It's insane. That's going to be so cool to see how they use that quick resume feature in the future. Hopefully, more games become compatible with that over time. We'll see what happens. I did like the way data just happened to seamlessly carry over. I think I didn't actually transfer anything like you were supposed to in the beginning. I was like, you know what? Bye. See ya, Felicia. And so by the time I'd fired up, I think it was Forza Horizon 4. It had asked me like midway through the game, like, hey, do you want to just carry over and sync all your data? And I didn't even have a choice. I think I accidentally hit the A button and was like, yes. And it was done in 2 seconds. And it was like, here's all your data. You're in there. I was like, oh, wow, that was not the painful experience I thought it would be. Yeah. So props on Microsoft for that. But let's talk a little bit about the cons or things we wish that, will be improved going forward or that have just completely sucked out of the gate.
One of the cons that I'm finding with the Xbox is actually connectivity. See what I've done there?
yeah, there you go.
I'm having to resync with my controller from time to time. I also had a problem with these headphones are the Arctis 9X by SteelSeries.
Nice.
I wasn't paid to say that. And they have Bluetooth, but they also have like a direct connection to the Xbox in the same way that your controller connects. The audio was just going mad skippy. And it was weird because if I touched my controller, if I touched a stick or any button, the audio was fine. Then if I stopped moving, the audio went real skippy again. I went on Reddit and found there was a bunch of people having this issue. And if you disable the Bluetooth on these, and the only way to do that is to connect it to a computer and get a little app that updates them. Disable the Bluetooth and then connect, and it's fine again. But I find that a wee bit disappointing. I don't know if the issue lies with the Xbox or with the headphones, and then with the controller disconnecting every now and again.
Yeah,
it's a wee bit disappointing when you spend so much money on good gear and then it doesn't work quite the way it's meant to. I assume it's, we all know there's a risk of, jumping in and being an early adopter and buying these things day one. There's always going to be teething issues. So I'm just hoping it's something that they'll fix as time goes on. But as I say, we bit disappointing on that side. No other cons, I don't think. The Turing in Assassin's Creed that I mentioned, I hope that's not something that I have to live with in future game releases, because that would be a real disappointment too.
Yeah, I'd say with on the Series S side of things, it's more of a first world con, in the fact that I do use my 1S for pretty much all my Blu-ray, so I'm still on the sort of teething of having an all digital console. I do use a lot of streaming sites, but I still have a lot of Blu-ray that I would watch, and I think having the disc drive would have made a slight difference, but it wouldn't justify the extra cost. And then the only other con is something that we touched on earlier. It's just a lack of innovation, just with the new controller. Very samey. Not necessarily a bad thing, but not overly a good thing either.
Good points.
I would say, well, there's one thing with the controller. Obviously, it's white. I can already see dirt on this thing, and
already what? It's been like 2 or 3 days. What are you doing to that thing?
It hasn't left my hand since I opened the box, so that's kind of the problem there. But yeah, there's a little bit of dirt on it, and I could tell like over like the next year, it's just gonna get just not as shiny, kind of dull from just playing with it. So yeah, I mean that's just white thing, like white, electronics in general. That's just kind of how it is. But other than that, I mean, I've just, I've had a few crashes when I was playing Cold War. Like hard crashes, like the system was shut off and then like I couldn't turn it back on, I had to unplug it. So
do you have any like PTSD moments where you thought maybe your console was bricked or something like that?
Yeah, the first time it happened, I'm like, okay, because like the screen froze and like nothing happened, and then it just shut off, and I was like, okay, yeah, I need that 1 year warranty to come in effect now because I might send it in. But no, I think it's just and I think it's an issue just with like Cold War, and I think the Spider-Man remaster. I think those two games are having issues as far as like just the random freezes. But other than that, yeah, there's no really other cons that I can think of. So
nice. I'll stay on the Xbox side of things. For me, I had to write a couple of them down here just because they stood out so much. But again, like what Ken was saying on the controller, not a lot of innovation. Might have been expecting more there for whatever reason. I think I wanted it to feel more like my series, wanted it to feel like the new Elite controllers that have come out. And it just didn't have that feeling at all. I mean, it just felt plastic, cheap. Again, I know I've ranted about the D-pad enough here, but that clicking has got to go away. And unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. Just some smaller things, I guess, between both consoles. Obviously, like you said, Wayne, we expected this early adoption, just compatibility issues in general, right? Like some games you can and can't quick resume on. Some games are going to have display issues and things like that. Just hope to see those ironed out sooner than later. And that's not something that lingers around for, months at a time. Yeah. Other things too, gosh, I'd say like just on the Xbox side, again, a lack of showcase. And by that, I mean, no exclusives, no games. I mean, the most of what we're playing is something that had already either come out on PC or was on the previous versions of Xbox. And I would just love to see a Microsoft first party title sooner than later, because I don't think you're going to see these things start moving until then. Obviously, we don't have sales numbers or anything like that yet. It's too early for all that. But just from the activities I've seen online and, the amount of users you see on a forum right now, between the PlayStation side and the Xbox side, PlayStation's just like, it seems like at least 10 times more popular right now on the internet. At least
talk to me when Elder Scrolls 6 comes out.
when Xbox is hoarding it.
Yeah, and Halo, still waiting on Halo. I don't know what they're doing on that front. So,
and I mean, again, maybe that they're holding off on those because they know, like, hey, maybe there's no availability right now, and it'd be better to release those when we can actually sell them with a console. So,
right.
Maybe that's.
I mean, there's no argument that the launch titles were a bit thin on the ground in terms of Xbox exclusivity, but we all know the sheer amount of studios that those guys have bought recently. There's gonna be a ton over the course of the life cycle of this console. I think we're gonna have some really, really good first party titles from Microsoft. It has to happen.
On the way.
I heard a rumor as well recently that they're looking to buy some Japanese studios, and they said
saw that.
Big and small. So there's a lot of speculation as to who they could be after there.
Did you say Koei Tecmo, Ron?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, I think that's what they were interested in last time I read it.
That would be great, because I'm a huge Dynasty Warriors fan, and man, if they could revamp that series and breathe some new life, and there's a lot of series Koei Tecmo takes care of, but wow, that would be interesting.
Yeah, I think it's definitely on the table for them. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes through. So,
how about that? Wow.
And if that does happen, it's just only fair that Sony gets Konami, and we can get some Metal Gear Solid remasters on the way. I don't know. So
it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure this is a good time for a lot of these studios, and unfortunately, have been hit by COVID. Maybe they're financially strapped, and this is a good time for the Sonys of the world and Xboxes to come along and say, "Hey, want to be a first party studio with us?" So
here's a bunch of money.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there. But any last words on these two consoles from you gentlemen? Or I guess if you were a podcast listener out there right now, maybe you still haven't had the opportunity to buy one just because of availability issues and things like that. We've all seen that fiasco. There's so many people that couldn't get it, or for whatever reason just don't have the means financially right now. What would you say to those people as far as recommendations go for either console?
Probably, if you're going with an Xbox, make sure that you're getting the series not the one.
Good, that's solid advice, Ken.
Yeah.
Can you repeat that again one more time?
Yeah, make sure that you're going for the series, not the one. So go for Series X or Series S, not 1X or 1S. Yeah.
There you go.
Solid life advice.
Otherwise, you're going to have some very disappointed children at Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the PS5, but I think if someone was on the fence and they weren't committed to one or the other, it would be very hard not to recommend the PS5. I think in terms of getting something new and exciting and having an experience that you won't be able to have with your current hardware, then it's got to be the PS5, and that's because of just my personal opinion from what I've seen of Astro and the DualSense. Because everything else, even Miles Morales, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Gears Tactics, Tetris, all these games we've sat and talked about, all of those experiences you can play on the previous consoles. That Astro with the DualSense, to me, that is the unique selling point for the next generation right now. That is the one thing you can't play on your current consoles.
Yeah, don't write it off. So sorry, what was the question again? Just like just like
any last words or recommendations out there for those that might be on the fence either way right now?
Oh, okay, on the fence. Yeah, I mean, I would say just go with the console that you think gives you the most access to games. I mean, if that's Xbox for you, then Xbox, they definitely, like I said, they're the Netflix of games. If that's your thing, you like to play multiple games at one time, go to Xbox because they got you covered. But if you like curated just experiences that you buy the game, this is the thing that we've been working on for X amount of years, like just perfection, you go with the PlayStation 5 because they really have a system seller right here in Miles Morales. Like, this game will
look at that.
Yeah, it will make you just happy and just warm inside when you play this game, just swinging through New York City. Yeah, it is incredible, just with the PlayStation 5 and what it can do. And yeah, I just can't say enough good things about it. Like, go with the PS5 if you have the money to do it, but good luck finding one.
Yeah, for now, good luck.
Yeah.
I'll say being on both sides and having each of these, just anybody out there that's not sure about which one you want to buy, or again, availability issues, whatever the problem may be, don't be afraid to take risks. I mean, I've kind of had that confinement my whole life to the Xbox side, where I've just got an extreme amount of gamer score, and then I've got hardly any trophies to show for it besides first-party exclusives on the PlayStation side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is probably going to be the first generation where I truly jump ship. And like for the first time in, I mean, like 3 or 4 generations. I mean, PlayStation hasn't been a mainstay in my household since, I don't think, the PS2.
Yeah.
And this will be the first time where I can already say out of the gate, I mean, I'm going all in on it. So don't be afraid to take risks. If you're somebody that's always been on one side of the fence, don't be afraid to jump. And even if you're on the PlayStation side, don't be afraid to jump to Xbox, because things look bright in the future. Yeah. Trey says, come on over to PlayStation side.
We'd love to have you.
But yeah, and again, if you're on the PlayStation side too, don't be afraid to jump over to Xbox, because obviously that's a really powerful system. Not by much, but it is more powerful. You've got a ton of games that are potentially coming in the future.
Game Pass, man. This is like, that's, if that is your thing, you're going to love Game Pass if you just like jumping from game to game. So yeah, totally.
It's a beautiful thing. I can't forget about PlayStation Plus too, because there's so many good games on there right now. But
PlayStation Now,
yeah, both of them, yeah,
both, yeah. Well, now it's kind of its own thing, but I don't think it touches Game Pass in any way. So,
yep, absolutely, awesome. All right, well, thank you, gentlemen. We'll go ahead and take it home. But Trey, why don't you remind us again where we can find you?
You can find me on YouTube and Twitch at TreyDog14TK. That's TREDOGG14TK. I do live streams maybe like twice a week. I do mainly Call of Duty, but you might see me playing Bug Snacks here in a little while. We haven't talked about that much, but Bug Snacks looks interesting. So, all
right, tune in over there to TreyDog14TK to see some Bug Snacks action going on. Ken, Wayne, anything else for either of you?
No. Let's wrap this up so I can get back to playing Xbox.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing. All right. So again, everybody, thanks for tuning in today. We appreciate it. Make sure you don't miss an episode. It helps us to leave a like, subscribe, and review. Again, we're just getting started off here. This is episode 6, 7, something like that. So anything you can do to help us out there, we greatly appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this listen. Stay tuned. Please feel free to send us some fan mail too. Again, that's gamesaverschannel@gmail.com. Already had a few suggestions and recommendations out there. We've definitely got those in the think tank, and we're going to keep them there for a minute. But again, that's gamesaverschannel@gmail.com. You can find us on social media right now on our main platform, which is Facebook, which is facebook.com/gamesaverschannel. We'll have the Instagrams, the Twitters, all that fun stuff in the world too. We've also got a YouTube page. Feel free to check that out. Wayne's putting out some good video content. If you want to see our beautiful faces on there, feel free to check it out. But outside of that, again, you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts, whether that be Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, TuneIn, Alexa, you name it, we're out there. But thank you very much for joining us today, everyone. And don't forget to save your game.